is the Monday Night Rewind. We're back again. This is episode number 10. With me, I have Buju. I don't know if Jack will be joining us tonight. I know he's been really busy doing a lot of different things, but meanwhile, we have Buju, the owner of Bullring Chronicles. And then I learned a few weeks ago, still has the traveling group, the Top Speed Travels, but kind of a thing, kind of not a thing. And then Lewis, owner of Top Row Racing Media. And tonight we have another huge episode that I'm excited for. Again, it's episode 10. Who would have thought 10 weeks later, this is still going. So let's talk about who we're going to have tonight, Buju. So first, we're going to have at about 7:05, we're going to pull in Aaron Hapner, who's already in the staging area. We were having a little bit of a conversation before we jumped on. And he's with Hapner Racing, the New Paris Shark. If you go to a New Paris Night of Destruction, you'll know when he's on the track because there's quite the roar as he comes on. And then after him, we have someone who's a front-wheel drive racer who started because of the Night of Destructions, fell in love with racing and the track and everything, and really, has an awesome story. We'll have DJ McCotter joining us at 6:35 his time, so our first Central Time Zone guest tonight. And then we have also from the Central Time Zone out of Wisconsin, cue up the Wisconsin Badger Band. We have the Midwest Truck Series with Drew Kreibich, who will be joining us at 7:05 their time, 8:05 our time over here in the Eastern Time Zone. And one more reminder for next week, we've kind of had 2 packed episodes here with 3 guests each. But next week on April 27th, we're back down to 1 guest for now. We know Ron has tons of stories. And last time we went nearly 2 hours and didn't even scratch the surface. So I know Ron will be coming back for part 2. So definitely looking forward to having Ron. And then the 4th will be with us. And if not, you'll need a 5th after because it is Tim Dibble from the Hartford Speedway just before their season opener next Friday night, or not next Friday night, a couple Fridays from now. In May. So again, just lots coming up, Buju, over the next couple weeks. But I know you and I were both at the same track on Friday, and I froze my butt off on Saturday on the roof at New Paris. So before we get Aaron in here and have people jump in, what did you think of the Intimidator?
It was an awesome race night. I thought there was great racing in all 3 classes. It ended up being warmer at Kalamazoo than I thought it was going to be. I went without the hoodie all night. That was nice. The line to get in when I got there, that's the longest line I've ever seen to get into a racetrack. And at about 20 minutes before race time, I said, "There's no way they're getting all these people in here." And I don't know how they did it, but I don't think anybody that was in that line missed a lap of racing. It was impressive by the Kalamazoo staff.
Yeah, I know. So when I got up to the roof, because I was doing single car qualifying I recorded it, and I usually don't do qualifying, but with single car qualifying, I try to be up there, make it a little special just to have that. And I went, oh, wow. And, and I posted a video because that's a good thing, right? Like, congratulations to Short Track Racing. It's their first, it's the first thing. It's the first season opener. I think we haven't rained out or had issues. Because I think last year, the season opener, we ended up raining out. And I think the year before was supposed to be like the Intimidator 100, and that got pushed into a different month. And so the last couple of years, the Intimidator hasn't ran at the beginning of the year just because of weather. And I posted a video of the line. And of course, some people didn't appreciate the line and decided not to come or decided to leave. And I get that. I understand that. But within about 20 minutes, I know Randy Ritchie, the owner, was up there. Michelle Sexton, Taylor Sexton, both popped up there and taking money and doing different things, but it was packed. It was so awesome to see that. Again, I get a nice little view from the roof. I can't see under me because of the skyboxes. It blocks my view. But that was just to see that on an opening night at Kalamazoo. I forget what the official attendance number was. They were talking about it afterwards, but I said packed, because that, it's one of those things that, especially season openers and weather, you just never know what you're going to get into. And so, I mean, we had an incredible night. The wind wasn't too bad. It was just hot enough to be warm, but not hot enough where, if you're just sitting to enjoy, you weren't sweaty and so, because we know those months are well ahead of us coming up. But but that's where it kind of excites me too, is not only did we have that many people in person, but I'm a very metrics driven person. It doesn't change what I do on Top Row, but it's more so, I have ELH Detailing, who's the primary sponsor of Top Row Racing Media. We brought on Federated Auto Parts. Joel helped with that with Fisher. And so we have primary sponsors, and as someone who's going to try to get sponsors this year for my onboard cameras, having metrics helps, sharing with tracks helps. And I don't know if you saw my little map earlier that I did, and excuse the crudity. This was like a 5-minute, oh, shoot, maybe I should do like a little shout out on this. But where you see the blue and the red, that was not touched by Top Row, at least from metrics wise. Someone might have been there, but when you have Wyoming, there's 4 cows for every 1 person. So I don't know if cows watch me or not, but if I counted right, between the 50 states and then the Canadian provinces, and this is for both New Paris and Kalamazoo combined. So over this weekend, Top Row's not a streaming service. And then, you get a lot of people saying streaming, everything should be on streaming. Well, there's people like me who can certainly bring the coverage. And if I counted right, I touched 60% of this land between us and Canada and the other countries that share the Canadian border. So that's just something that I thought was pretty cool as I was going through that. Wow. I think 16 states I didn't get, which I usually don't get, Alaska and Hawaii. But it's always that middle there. It's like all those cows. I need to get them some TVs. And Mississippi, I was trying to figure out, it literally went around them except for Mississippi. But again, this is what Meta proves. This is top 10 at least once. So again, that's a lot of exposure for our drivers in this area who also then put on an incredible show. And you just never know who's going to come from those areas to come watch a race up here. Are you frozen in time? Oh, no, you're muted.
Absolutely. And it's great that the region.
Oh,
can you hear me?
And now I can. We just made a commercial. Yes.
Okay.
I'm like, you're frozen.
Yeah, I'm
there.
sorry. I lost where we were there.
Oh, we were talking about the map. But
yeah, it lagged for a second, but I got you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, we were just talking about the map and the exposure, that you just never know, right?
Oh.
So, little old me, who's sitting on the roof as a one-man band.
Yeah. All the way to the tip of Florida and all the way to the Yukon up north. It's pretty cool to see.
I mean, just when you think about that, like, I don't get way up there, but think of that's some icy territory up there. Up there. So again, that's New Paris and Kalamazoo this past weekend. 60% of provinces, commonwealths, or states touched by Top Row Racing Media over the weekend. Not physically, though. Not physically touched, but on social media. But there's a group out from Idaho who follows all the time, and so I've actually looked them up on social media, and I didn't realize how big they were. I went, "Ooh, hey, I'll take that. I appreciate that." Yeah. So, but with that, someone who put on a show this weekend and always does at the New Paris Speedway when it's night of destruction time. Are you ready to bring on Aaron?
Let's bring him on.
All right. So again, our first guest here will be Aaron Hapner from the New Paris Shark. So again, welcome Aaron to the Monday Night Rewind.
Louis, Buju, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's so fun watching you, right? And that's something that now, Buju, have you seen the Shark in performance?
So I've been to one New Paris Night of Destruction in my life, and when me and my nephew Brendan left, we followed Aaron on Facebook afterwards.
Yes.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So, Aaron, for people who may not know the Shark, like Buju isn't a big Night of Destruction guy. He might go to some every now and then, but he's one of those turn left people,
sure.
And all that.
I don't mind those guys.
Well, we don't mind you either.
We're going to talk about that because, Aaron, you jumped into a Hornet at New Paris and you did some racing too. So for those who don't know you, that's my favorite question I always like to start off with is, let everyone know who's watching. Who is Aaron Hapner, the New Paris Shark?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I was never really a race car guy. I grew up, my dad would take me up to Warsaw and we'd watch them on dirt up there, watch motocross in North Webster. But how I got started was we moved into a new house a couple months after. My neighbor invited me over for a poker game. The best things always come from poker games. So we were there playing cards. Cars got brought up like it usually would at a guy's night. And my now buddy Seth had mentioned New Paris and that there was a Night of Destruction. And I've never been to New Paris. I've never even heard of a Night of Destruction. I've been to plenty of demolition derbies, but this was new. So, he did his best to explain, how a Night of Destruction works. I mean, even after 10 years, sometimes it's kind of hard to explain to people what it's really like out there. So obviously it caught my interest. I was wanting to go check it out, and I was like, you know what, might as well just take a car up there. So I worked at a local dealership. Picked up this huge '87 Olds Custom. I mean, it was a boat, but I didn't know what I was doing. I thought it was more destruction than racing at that point. Um, did the minimum, busted the windows out, took the mirrors out, ripped out the interior, and just I think we had a spare, maybe two. Had a truck, no trailer to haul it on. Had to go to U-Haul and get a trailer. So here I am pulling into a night of destruction into the pits for the first time ever being there, not knowing what to expect. Crazy to say the least. It's an understatement. So so I fumble through it, get my car unloaded, it passes tech. I go in and I obviously sign up for every single race available because I have no idea. So we get out there and we just kind of lumber around and these cars are flying by and we I think we signed up for the pole race was one of the first ones we did. And I was like, well, what do I do? I was like, oh, they'll explain it to you. No, they don't explain it to you. So um, I talked to a couple of drivers, got the gist of it, went out there and just, probably dead last, got cream, couldn't turn. But I was instantly hooked. I mean, it was just, an adrenaline rush like no other. Um, Great time. And I think I've been to about every one since. For the last 10 years. So it's been an amazing ride, yeah, to say the least.
Well, and that's something that we've had, we had Tabitha on a few weeks ago, talk about the Night of Destruction, and she went
Hmm.
to the South Bend Auto Show and kind of her history. And I know I've done a couple spotlights on you where your story with just how you got started. And so what do you think, you got hooked on this whole Night of Destruction thing. So for people who are maybe not fans of it, how do you see the Night of Destruction, community that you're a part of at New Paris, and what that means to even the New Paris Speedway? Like, how does that all work together for you?
So, I love regular racing. I love, New Paris Speedway. We'll go up there and support them on regular racing nights. And I really believe that the Night of Destruction is kind of like a gateway to racing. I mean, it's an affordable way to get out on the track. I mean, you got an old car that runs and stops, for a $35 pit pass, you can go out there and race with all those guys. So, I mean, it's a good way to get your foot in the door. I have great relationships with a few of the regular racing drivers. Some of them come down and run NODs. So um, you hear about the regular racing drivers not being huge fans. We're tearing up their track and not it doesn't work for them, but to each its own. I think it's a home for everybody up there. Regular racing and Night of Destruction, and according to the fans and the stands, Night of Destruction is a huge hit. So I mean that's keeping some of these tracks alive, and I'm glad to help and happy to.
And that's where at New Paris, Booz, you mentioned, right, following you on social media, and there's quite a few teams at New Paris who have a very strong, healthy social media presence. And last year you got into a little bit of a fun, playful tug of war between Coneheads and Shark, and then Road Rage, Mafia got
We
in on that
did.
one, and I think the Minions got in on it, and then I jumped in because I'm like, well, this looks pretty fun, right? And it's one of
Right.
those things that. Again, it's all playful. And so who do you look forward to competing when you're out there? Because I think there are more than 100 cars this past week, and it wasn't as packed as last October with the weather and Luke Combs at Notre Dame and everything, but it's a great show, quick show. We were done by like 11 o'clock, even with a few downtime cleanups. But who do you look forward to competing against when you get out there?
Great question. Sure. Now there's a handful of us that have been doing it for a while. We've built relationships over the years, and those are probably the guys that I like running with best. You do have the Coneheads and Road Rage Mafia, which are great, and there's always guys out there to run against, and um, I will say, in NOD, you can, you're either the hammer or you're the nail. So, and you can't be mad at either one of them because it just happens. So, yeah, guys like, Seth Gilbert out there running with us. Michael Curtis is always running top, with us. Tony Holly and his whole clan, the Chapmans, we built relationship with them, Austin Richardson's with the Road Rage Mafia. So, yeah, we built relationships with those over the years, and it's good to see them after a long winter break. Go up there for the first time after not seeing them for a few months, and everybody's in their element.
And everyone looked just happy to be at the track. That's
Sure.
even as cold as it was, walking through the pit area. Tori coming back from pregnancy, where that was her first race since 2024. And, then Tony's down this year, right? So, with his injury, but then, I see like Pitbull Racing is in here with Ralph, and you just walk around and everyone just seems so excited to be there, happy to be there, ready to put on a show. And so it was nice walking around, and it's kind of like a reunion, as you were saying. You get to just see everybody who you haven't seen since like the banquet, but in a competitive sense, right? We get to see everyone outdoors at the track. The vibes were just good from the start. And, we had a gender reveal, and I know you were part of that and everything. And so it was like one of those, again, cold, but I think the fans more than definitely got their money's worth.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The strange thing about the NODs is it is a rain or shine event. So, we've been out there in the pouring rain, running. And, I think I had one of my best trailer races out there in the pouring rain. And it was between me and Seth. I think we're the only two cars left almost. And, I'll never forget that race. It was amazing. So, yeah, be prepared for anything come NOD season. You're going to be out there watching, and we'll still put on a show for you.
So what are some of your top memories from your career in Night of Destruction so far? Those memorable races?
Sure. Well, there was a lot. I kind of did a little math before the show. So we've been doing it for about 10 years now. 6 nights every year. So that's 60 nights of destruction. And on average, you run maybe 4 nights or 4 races a night. So we're looking at 240 races in those 10 years. So there's a lot to choose from, I guess. But yeah, that trailer race that I spoke of, that was one I'll remember. Me and Spencer Wardinger, we were doing a figure 8. I think it was 1-on-1, but it was like 5 laps or something. Dusty, couldn't see. I think we made contact on every turn, and I think the last turn was finally enough for Spencer's car where it caught fire, and I was able to get away from him finally. So yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, mostly it's the nights, that I remember. The Halloween nights, those 4th of July's. 4th of July are always my favorite NODs. The weather's usually great. It's warm. It's sunny. The stands are packed usually. I've been to one that was standing room only,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty amazing to fill that place like that.
Buju, before I do one of the video clips, I didn't want to. I felt like I've asked a lot of questions, so I want to make sure that I'm not cutting you off. I know, again, Night of Destruction is not like always your jam, but I know you have questions.
So I'm curious, what as a racing person who casually is a Night of Destruction fan, asking someone who's a Night of Destruction person who's casually a racing fan, what is your favorite race to run in the Night of Destruction? I'm sure it's hard to choose, but if you had to choose.
Well, it's not. No, I
Okay.
love running the Pac-Man.
I love
So
watching the Pac-Man.
that is amazing. I think they brought it on about 6 or 7 years ago, and I was one of the first to run it. So I've got a little practice in. So I think I'm pretty decent at it. And you got to have a car that can handle hitting up to 10 people in one race and still racing the rest of the night. But by far the Pac-Man is, I mean, the adrenaline trying to track these cars down. The head on a swivel, when you're a ghost and trying to outrun them. Yeah, that's by far, it's the Pac-Man. And I think that's probably one of the fan favorites as well.
For sure. It's one of mine. Absolutely.
That's what I fell in love with. When I went to my first New Paris Night of Destruction in 2023, I want to say it was September 2023. Pac-Man's coming out, and I'm like, okay, what's this going to be? And I remember getting down after. I'm like, I love that Pac-Man. Like I didn't know what to expect. And, but that's why I call it the arena of destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Truly everything is fair game and cars are everywhere. This past Saturday was a little different. It felt like we went through more Pac-Man than normal. But they were definitely delivering. I know you've been a Pac-Man before, or you've been the chaser, right? So you've been the one chasing, and sometimes you're the one being chased. Not always, but
not always.
They like putting that the face on your car because you get to chase people down. You flipped cars over before, not on purpose, right? You weren't trying to flip them over, but they just hit that grass stripe. But I tell people, if you've not seen the Pac-Man race, that in itself is worth the price of admission.
Absolutely, yeah. And I tell you what, when I'm coming out on the track, after all the ghosts are out there, and to hear that crowd come alive is just amazing. I mean, it's just great, but you put on a show, and that's what we're there for, and we're there for the fans. So it's awesome to hear it from them.
Well, and so I want to do this video clip. So this is from the Figure 8 this past Saturday. So for people who who don't know, so New Paris has two different kind of drag races. They have the spectator drags, which that one got super interesting with that red truck. I don't know how he did not hit the wall. I mean, that one made it over to England pretty far. And so that was very popular in England. But how they suck off the wall, I don't know. But that's one, and that's no contact. But then they do for the Night Destruction people, they do contact Figure 8 drags 3-on-3, or I mean it's three going, and you eliminate each other where one moves on, two go back to the pit, and they always get down to this championship one. And so we have this one here, Aaron. If you want to talk a little bit, I got to back it up really quick. If you want to talk about this Figure 8 and what it's like to run this when you have so many cars.
Sure, yeah. So this is the finale. We made it to the finale that night. And it's Figure 8 style. We're all kind of grouped together at first. Obviously, no rules, just like it always is. So I think this was 5 laps. First across the finish line wins. So yeah, it's just a dead stop. We start, enter in, and then you just do your Figure 8 laps. Not a whole lot of crossover action, but I'm kind of okay with that. Keeps it a little bit safer for some of those guys. But you still get the action in every turn, the crashing and the sliding. I think I'm actually ahead here, maybe, but not for long because Seth's got a pretty fast car. Yeah, this particular race, I think I made it into like lap 4, maybe. I think the Oreo car took me out. Watch out, Oreo, coming for you next time. And yeah, and sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. That's just how it goes. So we live to fight another day. But yeah, I couldn't quite make it back from that spin out that's coming up here in a little bit.
Well, and so for people who also don't know or maybe didn't see, the New Paris Fire Department is always popular at least once on my page on a New Paris Night of Destruction. Usually one of those will start going crazy and kind of go all over the place. And so for people who may not know, they see the track as wet. It's not because it was raining, but the New Paris Fire Department has about 5 gallons of dish soap that they put inside the tanker, and they dump that all over the track just to help with speeds and everything like that. Enduro, which we'll play next, that Enduro got a little crazy, where they brought the water tanker back out just because the speeds were going a little higher than I think they're comfortable with.
Sure.
But you're kind of, so in this race, you're going from dry pavement in the infield, mostly dry, to then you're going to the wet track. So does that add to any strategy that you might try to do as you're going between both surfaces?
No, I mean, it's dry at first. It doesn't stay that way for long with guys driving through the infield or running through a puddle. So the biggest thing I think on the Figure 8 is just kind of controlling your speed going into the corner. I think Seth and I were kind of running different lines. I was kind of blowing it up and trying to take a wider loop and coming in harder, where he just sent it into the corner sideways every time. And he was a little faster than me, so I might have to try that next time.
Well, and speaking of fast, if you want to think about too, you have, it keeps playing in the background on me. There we go. So I'll pause it really quick. So this is the car Enduro, which had, I think 40 cars was on it. I can't remember I'm trying to remember what Jeremy said, but a lot. I mean,
Yeah, there were a bunch.
Yep. And so when you're sitting here in this, right, you're near the front. So you have a whole pile of cars behind you. You have the rum runners who brought like 11 cars over the weekend. I see Tabitha's in the shot here. So you're at this front here. I think that might be Gilbert on the front over there too. But so when you're sitting here and you're getting ready to go, what's going through your mind?
That is probably the longest, 2 or 3 minutes of your life. You're just sitting there, waiting to go. Your knuckles are on the steering wheel, staring at the light, and then you hear Jeremy, counting us down. That's like the golden ring right there. And then hit zero and we're off, and it's just hold on for the most part.
Well, and I thought there was going to be a lot more up front here, that all those cars kept going, but and you could see here the track is a little drier than I think they probably would have had it on normal. Usually this race felt a little deeper in the program than normal, but maybe it wasn't. But I felt like, I thought that was usually before this race. So they had quite a few. They had the ladies enduro, and you can see the speeds increase as this race goes on. But still people were pretty respectful. We didn't have any like violent hits or anything. But when you have this many cars, Aaron, on the track, it's not like a Hornet race where you have 14 to 16 cars. Everybody's going left. Everyone has all the safety gear. So when you're racing through traffic like this, again, what are you looking for move-wise? Because, I mean, you see even there, the van's kind of going all over the place. If Ben was out there, he'd just be spinning and doing all these tornado circles. But
Right.
So when you're in a competition like this, what are you looking for to put yourself in a position to win?
You're supposed to look, because typically I just close my eyes and then hit the gas and hope for the best. But no, I mean, so you got to realize, there's 40 cars out there. There could be 10 guys that have never been on a racetrack before. So, there's a lot of driving. There's a lot of luck involved. You just you try to look ahead, kind of see what's up around the corner rather than right in front of you, because there's no telling what some of these cars are going to do, which makes the enduro so much fun and so scary at the same time. So I definitely agree that when they put that water on that track, because the higher the speeds, the more risk for injury. So kudos to New Paris for slowing things down a little bit, and it makes for even a better show with the slipping and sliding, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's where there's usually someone on there who'll comment going, all this taxpayer money wasted. It's like they pay for the water, they pay for the use of it. It's like,
Sure.
and it's fun for the kids, right? And I think the drivers, I mean, I've not heard a driver complain about the water on there, because again, it adds an element to the race,
Sure, absolutely.
And so have you been on there when the water was fresh? Like, have you had to get on there when it was like absolute just soaked?
Oh yeah, yeah. And typically, the trailer races, they usually run it right before the trailer race. That's the end of the night, where it's kind of a little bit cooler mostly, doesn't evaporate as fast, and it can get pretty slick out there during the trailer race.
So Buju, any other questions that you have? Because I know, again, I know Aaron, him and I get to talk a lot, so I want to make sure that you get your questions in too.
I think you guys did a great job covering everything. Like I said, I'm always more curious about the Night of Destruction stuff than I am informed about it. So it's always cool hearing the Night of Destruction driver sides of everything.
So Aaron, what do you think stands out then about the New Paris Night of Destruction? Like, if you had to promote it, if Chris and Tracy came to you and said, hey, we're going to put you in front of 500 people who have never been to a racetrack before, sell them. What would be your pitch to those people who have either A, never been to New Paris and maybe not know what to expect, or B, we're going to bring them to New Paris and now they're going to see a Night of Destruction at New Paris?
Okay. Well, thanks for winding her down with a super easy question there. So, I've been all over. We've raced at New Paris, Angola, South Bend, Kalamazoo, M40. Even did a 24-hour race out of Bearfield a couple of times.
Wow.
But New Paris Speedway does it right. I mean, by far, hands down, they run the best NOD out there. we're doing in person, and people are coming out to watch. The stuff that you can only see on YouTube or on TikTok. I mean, this stuff is kind of next level crazy, in my opinion. And you got to be a little crazy to go out there. So it, like I said earlier, it's really hard to kind of explain the ins and outs of a night of destruction. But once you see it, I feel like you're going to be hooked.
Well, and speaking of hooked, we have Heather Clark who's in here. The YouTube is at least Heather Clark, and they asked, "Can you explain the wrench it up race?" So that's why I was pulling up the clip, and then we got Jeremy yelling because I didn't get to the sound in time. But have you? I can't remember if you're in this one or not. Did you do the wrench it up?
No, my car went out before that, which
Right,
it happens about every time I go out. But we rebuild her and bring her back. So the wrench it up it's a fun race. It kind of clogs everything up there in the middle. It's kind of like figure eight style, but there's no crossing in the middle. So you don't use the front or back stretch. You start going through the middle, through the turn, back into the middle. So it's kind of like almost a road course, for lack of a better term. But bunch of turns. Turns is where the magic happens in NODs. I feel like so. The more you can add, the more you can bunch this up together, the better it is to watch. So I think they added that wrench it up a couple years ago, and it's been a favorite since. So hopefully next time my car makes it long enough to run it.
Well, and they've done the trailer race as figure eight, or not figure eight, as the wrench it up, and they did the last year for October. They did the lights out race in the wrench it up style. They just ran the rest of the night after they got everything, because the fire truck even went through and did that, and like watered the wrench it up course. So I thought, oh, the lights out race that way. I mean, that's really adding a little extra spice to the night too.
Absolutely, yeah, a little bit more danger. So it's put you on your edge of your seat.
Are there any events you'd like to see added? Do you have any ideas that you'd like to see added to the Night Destruction show?
You know what, they change it up a lot. They switch it up. It's hard to come up with new races.
Yeah.
I've asked them before and they just refuse to do it. But if they could change the name of the Pac-Man race to Shark and Minnows, but they said they wouldn't do it. So, but other than that, no, I think they run a really good show out there, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
That's like a good PE game. When I first subbed for a gym class, when I was subbing before I went into full time, it was called Sharks and Minnows, and the different ways that it went. But that would be really cool, is getting the shark out there and have a bunch of minnows that you're chasing down or whatever. And you have how many sharks now? Because you have the main shark, and then you had a baby shark, and then you have like a mama shark, or so how many sharks are in the tank?
So yeah, we've had quite a few sharks over the years. The one I'm driving now, or that I drove last, this is its 6th year out of the 10. So I told my wife when this car is done, I might be done. So, or I told her I would be done. So I think we got a few more years out of this car. We just need to unbend her a little bit every time. But what was I saying?
Oh, how many sharks you have?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm kind of glad I did. But when I started always with the 11. And then my next car, I think, was an Alero or something. That was the 11B. So, and then every car we've added, specialty cars. I think I did the pink shark one time. That was a different car. We've done the baby shark, the van, and a few cars in between since the last one. So, the current car is 11H, and I think the last one that we took to the scrapper was the 11J. So we've made it that far in the alphabet. I don't want to do the math right now, though.
It's Monday night, no math over here.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, but other than that, again, I know I love the new Paris Night of Destructions, and I promote the heck out of those things because I just want people to experience it. And then again, I'm so glad having you on here, and I know I want to get a couple as we get closer to the next one in May. I want to get Coneheads on here, probably Ralph from Pitbull, just get a couple people on here just to continue to help promote that. Right, we have a big platform to do that on, so I definitely appreciate you taking the time on a Monday night to talk with us and everything. So before we go, obviously the Hapner Racing New Paris Shark
Yep.
is people can find you on social media. But beyond that, who helps get you to the races, or who helps you when you're there? Cars always have sponsors, right? But who helps you?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I am so thankful my wife loves this stuff, because it can be a lot. So I'm thankful for her. She's my number one. My kids help out in the garage. Ralph Reese is always, willing to come over and help. But kind of what's crazy at the NODs is if you break down or if you're having problems, there's always somebody willing to help. There's always a couple guys, coming over. Hey, what's going on? You need some help? Anything I can do? So there is definitely no lack of help at the track. So which is an awesome little kind of NOD community we got going on here.
Well, and I think it was last year that something majorly broke, and they had it fixed within a couple races, and that guy was back out there racing, and he was by himself, but it was everybody in that pit area came together to help get him back on the track, and then they ended up putting on another good fun show. And that's that's something I just really appreciate about the group down at New Paris. And not that maybe that doesn't happen elsewhere, but when you get to watch things like that, where it's like, I want to win, but I want you on the track, because if I want to win, I want to beat you, and I want to beat, like we go put on a show, right?
Yeah.
And I think even last year was that you broke and maybe came back out, but then broke again. I think maybe the same part, or maybe it's 2 years ago. But that's something, again, it's just impressive to watch as a fan, and then as a media side, that like this is a community in here.
Absolutely, yeah.
So again, Aaron, I know we have DJ on. He's done a Night of Destruction. I don't know if you have met DJ McCotter or not, but he did Night of Destructions at South Bend, and that's how he fell in love with racing. And then now he got on the racing side, and so I know he's in the staging area, and so he's all familiar with Night of Destruction too. He's done both sides of it, but
awesome.
Again, I just appreciate you coming on tonight. And again, for people, if you've not gone out to watch the Night of Destruction at New Paris, it's coming up at the end of May. Head on out there. The Shark is always there, easy to find, and you'll know when he's on the track. That fin will pop up, and all you need to do is look for something like this. There you
go.
Coming out. And so again, Aaron, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a great rest of your night.
All right. You too.
Yep. So again, that was the New Paris Shark from Aaron Hapner, the New Paris Shark. And so let's head on over. If you've never even heard DJ do the national anthem, man, he can sing and do the pipes and do all the things. But we now have DJ McCotter with us, the Six Never Quits from LHR Racing. I know you were working today, and you're an hour behind us. So how is it living in 6:30? We're already at 7:38, so we've already lived 6:30 over on this side. So what's the 6:30 like down there in Indiana?
Well, I mean, it feels like that I still have an extra hour left in my day. So I got my kids out playing in the yard right now, and I'll be getting supper ready to go here. And I know some of y'all probably already eaten, but it feels like in some cases I'm behind, but in other cases I'm like, I got all this time.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, again, you're just your energy. So I need that. I was up until 6 this morning editing the Intimidator program. And so I'm on fumes a little bit, but you always seem to come energetic. And I know you've been working all day and doing all that. So for people who don't know who DJ McCotter is, I know I've been fortunate enough to meet you. Boozer's been fortunate enough to meet you. And I think even race against each other, right?
Yeah.
A few times, yeah.
Yep. And so for DJ, let everybody know who is the biggest Cody fan around, DJ McCotter.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I, of course, DJ McCotter, I come originally from Durham, North Carolina, but in 2018 moved here to Northwest Indiana, currently residing in Griffith. And it was early 2021. I was going through some personal battles, which included a divorce, and I was not in a good headspace. But then a good friend of mine named James Woods, who's actually in the Night of Destruction at South Bend at the time, he introduced me to, he said, hey, man, why don't you come to the track with me on Memorial Day? I'm like, what track? He's South Bend Motor Speedway. And where's that? He just follow me. Okay. So I went out there with him, and I grew up a racing fan. I always loved watching Mark Martin drive that Valvoline car, and so I got into the pits, and I'm seeing all these beat up cars and trailers and decorations and stuff, and my head's on a swivel the entire time, and I'm like, there's 100 and some odd cars here, and I don't see a single number 6 car out here. What in the world? And so I watched the races that night, and at that moment I was hooked. And 2 weeks later, I got a hold of my first car, a Pontiac Sunfire. I bought it for $200 from Hiles Anderson College in Crown Point. I've still got heavy affiliations with them. It's a Christian college out here. The foreman out there, Jerry Oswardy, he was very instrumental in helping me get that car, get it together. And then I ran a few races. And before I ever turned laps, I had people like Buju, like Tyler Casper, Ben Kolowenko, among others, go, dude, this car is clean. You need to turn it into a Hornet. I'm like, a what? And so so I'm like, what's a Hornet? They're like, oh, you put a roll cage in it, you run. And I'm just like, what are you guys talking about? And so after that night, after I had beat the crap out of that car, I went home and I punched in on YouTube, Hornet Racing at South Bend Speedway. And I said, that's it. That's what I want to do. So I finished out the couple 3 nights that there were that year at South Bend, running a Night of Destruction, and then put some fresh body panels in. Tyler Casper put a roll cage in that car, and I crossed over into Hornet Racing. I still teeter back and forth here and there, but I've run Nights of Destruction at South Bend, Plymouth, New Paris, which is a very fun show, I might add. And while I'm thinking about it, Aaron Hapner, if you're still on here listening, J is the 10th letter of the alphabet, just so you know. But anyway, so I've done a lot of that, and then the Hornet race. I personally like Hornet racing myself, and I think there's a skill level, a challenge. You challenge yourself when you're out there doing some Hornet racing, and I've had some highs, I've had some lows, and learned a lot what to do and a lot what not to do. And certain people who think they're experts, I've learned who to listen to, but who not to listen to. And so. But I've got a ton more that I can say. But you mentioned LHR, Linda Hughes Racing. Linda Hughes Racing was formed late in. It came to me because I started under the brand of McCotter Motorsports in 2021. Of course, McCotter being my last name. But then my mom was battling cancer pretty hard, and I kept thinking to myself, she's 800 miles away in North Carolina. How can I support her in her battle with cancer from so far? How can I show her that, hey, I love you, I'm still here for you, trying to do what I can to show you that, I care. And it's a whole lot easier if you knew my mom to ask forgiveness than it is permission. Because if I told her this is what I wanted to do and asked it, she would tell me, no, do your own thing. So I just did it. And Easter Sunday of 2022, I rolled that number 6 Pontiac out of the shop at HAC, and had my sister was up here for that, and she had my mom on the video call, and I introduced her and the world to Linda Hughes Racing, and from that point, that's been my banner ever since. And so I go out there and I have a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, of course, I'm out there getting wins, trying to get wins and stuff, but you mentioned about the community. That's a huge thing that I enjoyed. See, to me, racing, at least in this area, is a lot more than just standing on the gas and turning left. It's the band of brothers and sisters that are out there with us. They, just all around good people, all that are willing to help, willing to listen. If you're having a bad night, people are willing to jump in to help you. And I've got a list of people that I could talk about here tonight, but how much time do we got?
Well, you have until about 8:05, so we got time.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's
now. Wait a minute, 8:05 your time or my time?
Our time. So
okay.
How about that? 7:05 your time.
Yeah.
So
you're not that big of a headliner, DJ. Settle down. You don't get an hour.
No, all right.
But DJ, you are someone who I definitely would want to bring back on already, just because you have such an incredible story. Plus, you're such a fan of so many different things that Again, it's one of those that as I was going through thinking of, okay, who can I reach out to and bring on? You were definitely, one of those names that I wanted to bring on just because, just listen to your story now. I think you and Ron could fill up like 4 hours of episode time, between the two of you. But that's where, watching you grow and then watching the extra things you've done, like when you sing the national anthem and you've announced and you've done different things, like you're just super passionate, about this, and you're just passionate about life. I mean, you went through a pretty crappy situation a few years ago. I felt so bad. You came up to Springport and raced Springport for the first time, and then that following, I think Monday or Tuesday, your life changed drastically, and even though you were down, you weren't out. You still kept that passion and still kept that hope and still kept that positive message. And again, I just think we're in a world where we need a lot more of that, and that's where I just appreciate who you are as a person. So, one of the things that I
appreciate that.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm just such a huge fan of yours. And I think a lot of people who interact with you are, just because of that, like, 6 never quits. And so if you want to talk a little bit about how that came around, because you've really lived that, life where, I used to teach the 7 habits, and I use a lot of that too. Or like, what's a big rock? What's a little rock? Trying to figure out what's worth solving right now and what's not maybe worth the time. So for your 6 never quits, you've not only say it, but you live it.
I try to, for sure. I mean, we all have shortcomings, but as far as the 6 never quits, I'm going to be honest here. I may or may not have stolen that from Brad Keselowski, because when he first took over the 6 car for RFK, they were trying to find some catchy hashtag, and I saw that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna use that. And then of course you mentioned that I'm a fan of Cody Rhodes. Huge fan of Cody. If anybody watched WrestleMania, congrats to Cody on that. But my parents as a kid instilled in me, if you want something, you got to go get it. You got to work for it. And so when I got into racing, I knew that nothing was going to be handed to me. And so I had to go out there and figure out what it is that I needed to do to get where I needed to be, or wanted to be for that matter. And I've got a ton of people that I could list right here, including Keith Barringer Jr., Ken Darren the Squirrel, Dustin Smith. Let's see. There's just so many more names that I could list off right off the top of my head who have helped me get where I need to be and where I want to be, who have been there every step of the way. So, people like Keith, who've been there talking me through if I've had a bad night at the track or if I got in a bad wreck or something, and he would be there helping me out. Kurt Grubb, of course, is someone that was there helping me along the way with getting cars ready to go and testing and things of that nature. But, I faced early season adversity in 2022, and it could have been very easy for me to walk away. So, well, that was my car. I'm done. But at that point, like I'd mentioned before, a fire was lit in me a year before South Bend. And I knew this is what I wanted to do, because to me, there's more to life than just getting up, going to work, coming home, getting a shower, going to bed, and doing it all over again the next day. And everyone has to have something that they can do that brings them just positivity, joy, and things of that nature. Of course, my kids do that alone, but I love being able to participate in like you say, with the singing of the national anthem and with the announcing and things like that. Many people have told me I've got a voice for radio. So I just try to use that to my advantage. And so I've gone up there at South Bend, called some of the races, and had a big time with it. And then with the national anthem, I grew up singing. I grew up in the church singing in our youth choir and did some solos and things like that. And so there was one night where I guess they were having audio issues at South Bend. So I walked up to Chris Highball and said, "Hey, man, if you ever need anyone to fill in, will you ever let me have a chance at it?" He said, "Sure." And so he turned me loose with a mic, and everybody loved it. So every now and then I get a special request. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So, and I just thank the good Lord above for the abilities that he's given me. But as far as as far as the never quitting part, that's just been instilled in me from my childhood about just not giving up. And I don't know what quit means. You mentioned a few minutes ago about the devastation that took place in 2024 when I came up to Springport. I'll just talk briefly about this. In fact, but the picture you had up there of my car was from Springport a few minutes ago. But it was about a week and a half, maybe not even a week later. It was on a Thursday morning. I got up like every other Thursday morning, got myself ready to go. About 7:30 in the morning, pulled out of my driveway, got to work, put on my uniform, and then was punching in. And about 8 o'clock, my phone was ringing off the hook. Like, why are all these people trying to call me? Then the one call I did answer was from the lady that manages the trailer park that I was living. Excuse me, mobile home park. We got to be politically correct here. But mobile home facility. So she called me and said, "Hey, your house is on fire." I'm like, "What?" So I turned that 25-minute ride to work into a 12-minute ride home. And the only reason it took me that long is I caught a red light, but nonetheless. So, of course, the shock factor of my home burning to the ground, losing everything. But I didn't even have a chance to process. This is where I believe that the racing world is full of good people. And I, again, believe that this is a God thing that I'm even here in the racing community, is because I didn't even have a chance to process everything. I made like 2 or 3 phone calls racing home saying, "Hey, I've got a major emergency." And so one of the guys that I contacted was Keith Barringer, Keith Jr. I call him Mr. 311. That dude, I call him a mentor because he has been so good for me mentally, physically, among other things. But I filled him in like, "Dude, I just lost everything." And before I could even process the next thought, there was already a post that he had made on my behalf about how I'd lost everything in a house fire. And 2 days later was a night of destruction at South Bend. And he told me that day, he goes, "You're going to be at the track, whether you want to be or not. And if you're not there, we are going to hunt you down, hog tie you, toss your butt in the back of the pickup, and drag you to the track, whether you want to be there or not." And then he followed it up with, because I mean, it's not like you have anywhere else to be anyway. But oh yeah. Keith and I have that type of relationship. So, but it was a blessing because so many people stepped up. Last Minute Motorsports, Brees Shelsky, Austin Wheeler, they stepped up with putting together a raffle car, and over $3,500 was raised just in that night alone for me and my family. And the amount of donations, the amount of love that was shown to us is incredible. And so, after that, like at that point, again, Thursday morning, sitting there watching my home smoldering, what's left of it, I'm going, what do I do? What do I do? By Saturday, I had already acquired so much stuff and fundage from people of the racing community and from the church that I was just like, "Lord, thank you." And so with that, I try to use that as a catalyst to be a positive encouragement to those around me, whether it be upcoming racers, whether it be guys that are having a bad night, or even if there's someone else who's experiencing a tragedy. I try to share what I know on Facebook, like pass along like with the Dominic and Charles Anderson situation that recently arisen. I shared that online, trying to help them out as well. But the racing community has been good to me and to my family, and so I got the car put together for last year, and the last 2 years I've spent traveling more so than anything, and I've learned a lot by traveling. I learned that I need a better platform than what I had for a car, but that's one thing that I love about this sport. It's about growing and learning, and so there's a lot more that I could say, but time is expiring rather quickly.
Oh, hey, you just keep talking and you doing you things, right? Like that's where, again, because it's an incredible story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even in the face of adversity, right? You stuck to your core values, you stuck to that, and it's just, there's so many different ways in life to just throw in the white towel, right? And to
Mhm.
just give up and, and say, you know what, this was it. This was the TKO moment, not
Mhm.
TKO, but like this was the knockout moment that, just, but you just never seem to find that gear. You're always, always looking forward, always looking how not only you can help people, but then I think, like I said, you have a lot of fans, and that's why so many people helped you, because you bring so much value to people's life, and they're better for having you in it. So
I
so
appreciate that. I really do.
your story is just amazing in itself. um that's where, ooh, excuse me, sorry, I took a drink really quick because my throat was getting dry while you're talking, and now I just burped, so I apologize, but that was not on purpose. But it's one of those that, again, just listening to to your story and what you do, again, that's just, I'm so glad that people get to hear that, right? Because truly,
Yeah.
you got knocked down and you're able to get back up and keep going. And so, when you've traveled around, what track have you found that you've liked so far that you didn't wasn't in your arsenal? Again, you were only introduced to South Bend a few years ago, and so what
Mhm.
track have you enjoyed as you've gone around? I know you raced Montville there for a little bit before it became a church, and you went up to Springport, M40, South Bend, Plymouth. So what have you liked?
So obviously, every different track, and I've also visited Galesburg
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, Galesburg, and then there was one more that escapes me, but every track has their own different unique characteristics. Montville, Galesburg, they're flat. M40 South Bend, highly banked, very fast. But I learned just by traveling. I'll answer your question here in a second. But I learned just by traveling of how adaptive I needed to be when going from one track to another, because my South Bend setup doesn't work at Plymouth. My Plymouth setup does not work at M40. And so it's learning how to be versatile and how to, it made me better as one to set the car up, and it taught me more as a driver what I am and am not capable of. Um, but I would say that as of right now, kind of neck and neck of my two favorite tracks right now are South Bend, because that's home. That's going to be difficult to top. Amen, Buju. And
Amen.
then M40. The speed that I've gotten from M40, I love it. I've figured out that infamous dip in turn 3. When I bottom out, if I mash on the gas just right, hitting that dip, it'll set me up perfectly for the front stretch. But M40 is a blast, and I love running there. And I'm probably going to frequent there quite a bit this year as well, just because Plymouth is, even though Plymouth is the closest to me, they're running Friday nights. I work up until 6 o'clock y'all's time on Friday. I can't make the races that like that, but I can at M40 on Saturdays. But M40, what Bill and Judge are doing up there is amazing, and got a good group of people up there. But while I'm thinking about it, I want to share. I mentioned Ken Darren, the squirrel, a few minutes ago. He drives the number 13. For those of you that don't know, there's a reason we call him the squirrel. Dude is nuts, but and that's putting it mildly. But one thing, he did give me a solid piece of advice a couple of years ago. He said, know you love racing, just whatever you do, don't forget your kids. And at first I didn't know quite what he was talking about, but you know, Ken and I have developed quite the brotherhood over the last few years, and we butted heads a few times. But there have been times where I've talked some sense into him. There's been times he's talked sense into me. But he said, "Don't forget your kids." And basically, what that meant was, what he was meaning by that is, don't get so caught up in racing that you forget about them and miss watching them grow. And so I try to involve them as much as I can, whenever I can. And we got some special events. If I miss a week here and there, if I'm not competing for the championship, then, just know that I've got some plans with the kids that we're going to be spending doing some stuff away from a track. But I know my son, Jody, absolutely loves it. My daughter, Erica, she loves coming out. They've made some friends, in the playground area of M40, out in the pit area of South Bend and Plymouth and other tracks. And And so I'm very fortunate for them to be on this journey with me, and they get to learn and grow with me as the racing team of LHR grows and develops, and their key factors into that. Their names are all over my car, and Jody's already told me he wants to drive the 8 car. Erica wants to drive the 10 car, and I'm over here going, I can't afford mini wedges yet, guys. Slow down. But you know, and Ken is right. You know, as a father, that's my first priority. And so, you know, I don't want them to feel like they're left out in any of this.
No, and again, that's I can't sing your praises enough as a person, just because of just your foundation, your core values that you just really possess and have. And I think what some people are wondering as one of your core foundations, not to sidetrack a little bit, but everyone's wondering where the fire suits are, because that's been in the comments. Where are the fire suits? I think you let people down tonight. You did not get in one of your fire
Hold
suits.
that thought.
Oh, Lord have mercy. We're going to have them changing on podcast now.
All right, everybody get 20s and 10s out, you know, but
Now that I've only got a couple of them, but you see, I'm gonna tell myself a little bit. So with working at a bus garage in Hammond, I've been blessed to make a decent wage, and I have a pretty decent tax return at the end of the year, or the beginning of the year, I should say. And so for the first couple of years, I'm like, all right, you know, I need a fire suit. So what am I going to do? This one got tore up over the last season, so ooh, here's an idea. And I'll draw up a sketch, and I message the guy that I get them from and say, hey, can you make this? Yeah, we can do that. And so I didn't do it this year because I had other areas of finance that I had to cover. But yes, the fire suits, I pride myself. Something someone once told me. Why I wear the fire suit from the time I get there to the time I leave is, one, it's easier recognizable as a driver for the fans if I'm walking through or whatever, and they can say, oh, he's a racer. Let's go talk to him and introduce myself and strike up conversations that way. People call me nuts, especially on them dog days of summer, and I'm all suited up. But I can promise you, if I'm wearing a pair of shorts, you're going to need sunglasses. So, but no, I just feel like it helps identify me as a driver to those who may be new to the racing scene, and again, help strike up conversations and introduce people to the sport who may be new to it. And so, yes, they've always been good conversation starters. People like to pick on me because I wear flashy suits or whatever, but hey, I've got a few wins and a fast qualifier to my name. So where's your fire suit?
All right. While we're changing gears, I want to tell my favorite DJ McCotter story. And I think he already probably knows. So we go. We pitted next to DJ at South Bend for a long time, so we have a good humorous relationship with DJ as well. So somebody was borrowing DJ's car running down at Plymouth a few years ago.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, we won't mention the name. DJ's live on Facebook during this heat race. So the guy's driving the car. There he goes. He's wheeling on the outside. Oh, here he comes. Car. And then all of a sudden, the video is very grainy. It looks like DJ might have filmed it with a potato, but we'll cover that at a later date. So yeah, all of a sudden you hear the car skidding, and you can't really see it because of the video quality. But the car is just at a stop in front of you, and the perfect comedic timing. There's a pause. DJ goes, and he just wrecked my car. Come on, man.
I have a video. Yeah. I have that on video. I remember that night, and then when I saw the live, I went, I mean, how else do you respond to that, right? So,
and he wrecked my car.
And the Davis clan has yet to let me forget.
Oh,
no, that there.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, so the deal between him and me, because he lived close to me and I had to work again, it was a Friday night. I says, all right, I'll tell you what, if you haul my car to the track, that'll save me a few minutes getting from work to the track. If you haul it there, you can hot lap it. And if I'm not there in time, you can run the heat race, but I'll take it over for the feature. He said, all right, cool. So he qualifies. He decent, I think. And of course, he's talking up the car like, oh, this might convert me over from a Neon to a GM or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Well, I show up and he's strapping in for the heat race. So what does he do? He's, hey, man, he sticks his phone out the window, says, can you film on my Facebook Live? Can you film this while I'm on track? I said, sure. I watched him get loose lap after lap after lap. And I'm like, please don't tear my car up, man. And sure enough, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I am live. I don't know how many people are watching. I can't lose my cool while I'm on camera, so that's where the infamous, and he wrecked my car. That was completely genuine. But as soon as I hit stop, I was lighting him up like a fireworks stand. But I was mad. Oh my! I was madder than an albino trying to hitchhike in a snowstorm. I was pissed. So, but again, Keith Barringer, Dustin Smith, and actually Dakota Milborn as well. They all banded together. I got another car out of it, and Glenn Cormican, 4C North Fabrication, awesome work, I might add. If you need roll cage or fab work done, he helped get the new car ready to go in the next 2 weeks, and so that night I learned be very particular of who you let in your car.
That's back to where you started with, knowing who to listen to and who not to listen to, right, DJ?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, DJ, I know Drew is popped in from the Midwest Truck Series, but we're going to have to, I see that's 8:05, where I'm going to message you after this because we're going to bring you back on, because I don't think I've laughed this long or that much in a long time like that. Because I remember recording that, and then I was up top and I heard the stories of how mad you got, and I went, DJ? And because Junior came up to talk with me, he was hanging out with me a little bit. So I remember all that, and I know maybe we get you and Keith on at the same time, and just have a group, because just the stories you all could tell too, and I know the Behringers are two who I want to get on here. So again, I'm going to reach out to you, that way we can get you back on, because we haven't even scratched the surface with everything that you've done too. And so, man, Buju, can you imagine him and Ron on the same episode?
Oh yeah, I know. I don't think we'd even need to be here. You could just press play, and I could go to work. You could do whatever.
We'll hang out where Drew
and again, how much time you got?
So again, DJ, like I said, I can't sing your praises enough, and we will be getting you back on. You'll be someone who will, we'll look into May, because then you'll have some races under your belt by then too. And I know you're talking about dinner and everything. So it's at Central Time Zone, right? We've already lived 7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock here, and now both of our guests are living an hour that we've already lived. So, so again, DJ, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
Man, I should have had that clip. I did not come prepared for that. I could have played that, and we could have got a live animation on that.
That's right. Next
time. But again, DJ, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Monday Night Rewind, and I will be talking very, very soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, again, thank you. And that was DJ McCotter. And so really quick, since we're at the top of the hour, before we bring on Drew, just as a reminder for next week, we do have Ron Vrash Part 2, who will be here with Stock Car Extreme. He gets the whole episode, because we know last time he almost went 2 hours, and if it wasn't for work, he could have kept telling more stories. And so we didn't even scratch the surface with him. And then on May 4th, like I said earlier, the 4th will be with us as Tim Dibble. We'll be telling stories and talk about owning the Hartford Speedway with his wife, Leah. And if you do shots on that day, then you can have some 5th, because May 5th is the next day with Cinco de Mayo. But anyways, as we move forward, one more shout out too for the Thursday Night Throttle, which is live this Thursday at 7 o'clock right here on Top Row Racing Media, Facebook and YouTube. We'll be previewing the upcoming weekend. Buju and I, especially, so many tracks opening this weekend. I know we just came off the Kalamazoo Speedway event, and they'll have weekly racing this week. And then New Paris has weekly racing after their night of destruction. So much to cover. Again, the Thursday show is a little shorter. This is guest centric on Mondays. Thursdays more of a infomercial, talk about headlines, those sort of things. So with that said, we're going to bring on Drew Kreibich from the Midwest Truck Series. So again, Drew, welcome to the Monday Night Rewind.
Hey, thanks for having me. Wow, what a guest to follow here. I just jumped into the room and stories are flying. And so hopefully I can piggyback off this a little bit.
Well, and I'm excited to bring you on because I know we've not met before. I don't think we've crossed paths, but you put out a social media post a few weeks ago. And so in doing my research, because I wanted to know, how do I say the last name? Because you just never know, right? Sometimes the vowels, throw you off there. But with that, I came across a couple podcasts that you've been a part of, and obviously with the truck tour, but you had posted something that really stood out to me. And I read the comments about, you have a series in Wisconsin over there that is growing. I bet that most people watching right now who are Michigan and Indiana may not even know the Midwest Truck Series, especially being Wisconsin based. So you put out, how can a series that's doing all these wonderful things get any kind of coverage? And the comments were interesting to me too, where I went, well, okay, so that's why I reached out to you, because it's like, I'm not national, although I did show a graphic earlier where what I touched, and I don't stream or anything, but 60% of from Florida on up to Canada and over, I touched some way, somehow over this weekend with my coverage. So that's why I reached out, because it's like, okay, how can we help? Because this is short track racing and we need all these different kind of things to succeed, whether it's financially viable or not for, a media person. It's like, we got to do our part, So for people who I'm guessing is a lot who may not know about not only you and your story, I learned that you've grown up around racing and you've, I think, flagged and concessions and all these things. So if you want to tell a little bit about you and then jump into what the Midwest Truck Series is.
Yeah, absolutely. My story is similar to most everybody else is in the racing world, is, really grew up in this sport. My dad was an official. My mom worked at the racetrack. And so it was something that I just knew and did. And so when the opportunity presented itself with the Midwest Truck Series in 2018, I'd been kind of helping out a little bit to go a little bit more full time. It was the perfect opportunity for me to jump in and help out this series. And so what we've been able to build since that 2017 timeframe has been a truck count that averaged roughly 15 trucks, give or take, all the way up to right now. We just opened a couple weeks ago at the Dallas Raceway Park with 34. Looks like our entry list for a week and a half is another 34. And so we have been able to build this series into something that's cost affordable. So we're a stock 602 crate engine, fab chassis. It's similar to a late model, but it is a truck. So the cages are a little bit taller to fit the truck body. And really, we wanted to bring fun back to racing in an affordable way. Something that's competitive, that it means something to win. And it's become a proving ground for young and up and comer racers, as well as the veterans that maybe went and did the late models. They went and did the super late model stuff, and it's just gotten priced too high for them, that they can come back, have fun. We limit what MSD box they can run. We limit the shock package they can run. It's a one tire race deal. So it's most traveling series. You're going to the show or the racetrack. You're buying 4 practice tires. You're buying 4 race tires. So it's one tire that you can buy each race. And so it rewards the consistency. So maybe if you have a 3rd place truck that night, maybe you just settle in, you ride, you save it for the next race. You also can't beat up your tires at all. You can't just roll in and kill your tire, because you need that tire next week. And so it's been awesome to see the excitement level. And when you go back through the lineage of the trucks, and that's kind of where the posts stemmed from. It was me. Sometimes I just get bored on social. I'm like, let's just see what happens with this post. And that was one of those posts. But you look at the lineage, a guy like Parker Retzloff, who's in the O'Reilly series, he has like 17 starts in the Midwest Truck Series. Sam Mayer has a win in the Truck Series. Ty Majeski has ran in the Truck Series. Luke Fenhaus has ran in the Truck Series. Like all the way up through, we have drivers at the levels up into the top 3 that have come through the Midwest Truck Series, and most people just don't know that. When you look at the super late models, last week it was like 38% or something like that of the field of the 36 drivers have had a Midwest Truck Series start. And so it's a series that's gaining a lot of recognition here locally. We're only at the big shows, and that's not like a humble brag, but you look at the shows in the Midwest here, especially in Wisconsin, we're there. So it's great for the fans too, because then you guys have different late models over by you, but over here, a late model and a pro late look from the fans' perspective look identical.
Yeah.
A casual fan can't walk up the ramp and look at the two. However, it's pretty obvious what a truck is. It's easier to tell a super late and a truck. And so from the promoter side, it's really made it to where from selling tickets, if you have a 602 late model, which looks like your outlaw late model, it's kind of more of a sportsman type car, very similar to what we're building in the truck series. It's easy for the fans to be able to see all three of those and be able to recognize which one's which on the racetrack. There's nothing worse than a fan being like, what class is this? I kind of feel that way. I watched the down in before the shootout, the Tulsa shootout.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not a dirt guy, but I turn on TV and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. And then the same car can put a wing on and now it's in another class, or you put a restrictor plate. Like, it's too confusing for me. So I'll watch Saturday and they'll tell me what's on TV. And so from the promoter side, it's made it so where the fans can tell. The other nice thing is that they're so close, because when you get to kind of be a spec car, and NASCAR is kind of dealing with this right now, is when the cars get to be so close, the field tightens up and it makes the competition level so important. And so things like qualifying, to get into the show last week, I think it was a 10th and a half between first and 5th or 14th. And so that makes qualifying exciting. We've had the last 2 point series or seasons. It came down to 12 points last year and it came down to 9 points the year before. That's literally 4 positions on the racetrack at 2 points of position on back. First to second is a 7 point difference in the feature. So you're talking where everything matters. Qualifying matters, heat races matter, feature matters all throughout the season to have it come down to be that close. And so there's so much excitement building around it. And so I threw that post out there to be like, how do we go get national media when you look at things like the Cars Tour, when you look at these, what you call support series? We have the best support series to any show, hands down, across the country, that when you show up to the Midwest and you see a super late model show and a truck show, you're going to be entertained.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's where, just even reading the comments and kind of getting some of that perspective. And that's why I reached out. I'm like, I'm not a big fish, but I don't think I'm a small fish anymore either, unless you compare me to the Flows and the Racing Americas, and, but they have quite a different budget. I always say, bigger house, more expenses, I have a small house, but I have smaller expenses, although they do grow up, but it's one of those, it's like, okay, I'm in this area. I'm not that far from Wisconsin, right? If I stand at a certain part of the lake, I can see across, to Wisconsin. So it's like, that's why I reached out, because again, I just think, how can we help each other? And I know when I'll be at Slinger in July with Drew, Jack, and the National Compact Tour, and I know some trucks were there. I don't think it was your series.
You got to come a week earlier this year.
I see. That's right. I was looking at your schedule, because I see like you're even in Grundy, and that's the only one that right now, for people who don't know, they can watch you, whether it's Pit Road TV, Track TV, Flow Racing. The only one that's not streamed will be Grundy, but you'll have Dimmitt race videos there. And James does a great job with what he does. And so that's the only one that stands out right now that doesn't have that. But do you want to talk a little bit about, your scheduling and what you look for, especially being a local, but putting on such a show? And two, you had a race for 4,200 days or something between wins?
Yeah. So I just posted that today. I was going through stats, and so I'm a big stats guy, and I believe in, it's similar to baseball. The legend of baseball was built on numbers, and racing's the same way. And I think as promoters, we've gotten away from that a little bit, that it means something. And so I believe that everything should mean something. And in order for it to mean something, you have to make it mean something. And so Blake Brown, he's been at Grundy for the last couple of years, racing a super late model, came back into the truck series. So his first and only win was back in 2014. And then he picked up the win a couple weeks ago at the Dallas Raceway Park in our opener, and I'll get to another story about that. But so I was like, when I was going through the stats, I had a first win and last win in our driver's stats column. And so I was like, wait a second, like this has to be like nobody's done this. And when you think about it, like, yeah, he went away. So it makes that he's joking on there. Like it makes it seem like he's terrible because he hasn't won in that many days, but he hasn't raced with us since 2015. But still, when you think about it, for him to go away and then come back, there's not many people that have wins, have a span of almost 12 years that they're still winning. And so, especially in as competitive as this series is, like I said, the top 14 are separated by a tenth and a half. And so, for him to jump right back in was pretty awesome. And so, when we look at the schedule, and it's something that Berlin has reached out to us. I think I'm acquaintances. I'm friends with Drew Jack, so he's talked about Kalamazoo, some of the things like that. And it's just, yes, we would love to go do it. However, we just can't. And so when we look at the core of who we are, we want to become that regional series that has national exposure. Come watch us, stream us online. Come to one of the races. Again, we're at all the big shows. And so make it, especially those of you in Michigan, like come around the lake and come to the Slinger Nationals. Come on Sunday, come to the Prelude, drive over to Madison, drive down to Grundy. Wisconsin has so many awesome tracks. Like if you've never been to Jefferson Speedway, it is a quarter-mile bull ring, banked in 3 and 4, flat in 1 and 2, and you go watch super late models or trucks rip around there in a quarter mile. Like there's not one track that's say or two tracks that are same in Wisconsin. And so I think that's my ask is get to know us on the stream and then call your boys and make a road trip over and make a weekend out of it. You can go to Kakana on Thursday. You can go to Golden Sands on Friday. You can go to one of 3 tracks or Madison on Friday, one of 3 tracks, I believe, on Saturday. And then you can hit Slinger on Sunday and go home. And so it's like you can get to 4 race tracks, all different, in 4 days and be home by Sunday night. And so that's what, when we look at the schedule, we look at distance. We don't want back-to-back because racers today are different than racers 20 years ago. Yes, we get it. We used to race 18 to 20 times a year, 22 times a year, and that's all you did. You missed graduations and weddings. And the reality is the most racers aren't doing that anymore. Those days are gone. And so we need to plan in the camping trips because people have $40,000 or $70,000 campers that the wife is going to get pretty upset at if they're making a payment on it and never go use it. Same with their boat. And so we try not to schedule anything back to back. And so to give our teams time off throughout the year. So 14 races is our sweet spot. Some would like 12, some would like 18. The thought is 14, 2 rainouts. We get to 12. We still have a legitimate point series. If we went to 10, have 2 rainouts, now it's 8 races. And so that's my thought process there. And then we see where our racers are from. Last year, we went to Hawkeye Downs in Cedar Rapids, one of the most badass racetracks that I think you can go to. However, it's far for our guys. And so we ran that race 3 of the season. And so we made racers decide at race 3 if they were running for the points or not. And then we saw truck count dip. We had averaged over 25 trucks a race. Last year, we averaged 23.5. Not a ton difference. It's 1.5. However, I didn't want to make that decision again. And so we partnered up with Mid-Am Series to go to Grundy again. We were on the traditional tour date, the Midwest tour date, but they flipped weekends. I think they're doing the Bentonhausen now. And so that kind of left us open for that weekend. And so we're going to join the Mid-Am and kind of go do a fun deal down there. And so I try not to do any track more than 3 times. Really, 2 times would be ideal, but Dallas Raceway Park is our one that's 3 times, but we are literally the first race, the last race, and one in between. So it's like right now we wouldn't be racing anywhere else. We literally race April 12th, and then we race there again in October 24th, so it's the furthest time apart. So it allows us to do 3. If they were during the middle of the year, we wouldn't do 3 there. Plus, it's centrally located. We got guys from Minnesota that can come down. Yeah, it's a little ways for the guys from Illinois to come up, but a lot of our racers are in that Madison, Cambridge area. So we just look at the geographic, and luckily the promoters here in Wisconsin all believe in traditional dates. And so our schedule is pretty much copy and paste every year, maybe move a few things depending on what shifts. 4th of July, Labor Day, and Easter actually all are the 3 things that make everything else shift in the schedule. And so we just have a really good thing going up here that, it's a good thing when tracks want more races. However, we have to throttle it back a little bit and just say, no, we need to keep this 14.
Well, I think that was going to be one of my questions. Again, for a lot of people who are watching this, I would say probably a lot of people are watching this or who will, they may not know like the Midwest truck. So that was one of my questions is, on average, where are your drivers coming from? So you answered that. But that's your scheduling philosophy is even interesting too, where, you'll only go to track so many times. And then that gives your fans who do follow you a chance to see at different places. And so, sometimes do you feel like promoters, and this obviously is now Drew Jack thing, because I know he goes all over and now he'll have a series out on the east side of the United States. And so I get a chance to talk with him, but we obviously know promoters just nationally who sometimes overreach, right? They stretch their teams far and wide. And so how do you think you found that balance? Like, do you have a lot of younger drivers? Do you have drivers who have families? Like, what is your range? And then how do you find that balance with them, that you keep them committed to coming even when there's like weeks between your events?
Yeah, I do a lot of talking with our racers, and a lot of it's feel, and it's numbers, and it's looking at the data, and it's just, I don't want to say it's common sense, but if we can't drive these guys all over, and expect them to continue to show up. Fuel prices are going up, and so it's just this. Early on, I had this philosophy of we weren't going to do more than 2 road trips a year. I still think there's value to have the road trip too, because those are the stories that get told. When we go back to the numbers and the stories, I think when we look at this season, we have that trip to Grundy. There's some teams that are going to travel 6 to 8 hours. And those are the stories of in the back of the car or in the back of the trailer or the truck. They caused some trouble or did whatever they did, that shop stories are get told, a couple of years from now. We also have the back-to-back 2-night event at Jefferson. And again, those are the stories I remember when I raced go-karts. Some of the most fun times we had is when you travel and stay in a hotel and race 2 nights in a row. But we just do a lot of talking to the racers. And so, like I said, the racers have been kind of telling us this 14 number. When I worked at Tundra, the Tundra Super Late models, I don't know if you're familiar with them, they're here in Wisconsin too. We started off at 5 races. We went up to 8, and we quickly learned that 8 was too much for those guys. It doesn't sound like much. It's only 3 more. And so we dropped it back down to 6 races. And so it's so much of it for me is an intuition. Like I said, I've been around since I was literally like 2 years old at the racetrack, or probably even before. And so it's this feel of going, okay, what's the pulse of the series? What are people saying? Where are they showing up? What do they sound like when they get to the racetrack? Like if half of them show up to this racetrack and are like, we don't want to be here, it's probably gonna be like, okay, why don't we want to be here? Maybe it's the pick gate person, maybe it's something that's happening, and you go, okay, maybe if the culture of our series doesn't want to be here, maybe we'll look at some place that is more welcoming, more friendly, more whatever. I give Drew all the credit in the world for going down to Freedom Factory and putting deals like that together, and what he does, that somehow works for those 4-cylinder guys. They're willing to travel. Tim Z with the Mid-Am series is starting to travel a little bit more and getting those guys to travel. I think they're going to Winchester and IRP. I just don't think that's the core of who we are. And so maybe someday, we're working with some promoters down south, because they have trucks down there, but those are all metric chassis, AR bodies, similar, but way different. If we could get the rules package the same, I think it'd be fun to do like a north-south shootout. But again, it's once a year. Like this isn't going to turn into a national deal. Because then what we did is then we took 34. We have actually 60 turnkey trucks up here right now that we can pull from in a regional deal. It would take 20 of them and they go maybe commit to part of a season. And if we run them out of money, they're done. That doesn't cost them money to sit on the jack stands. And so we got to keep the money in their pocket. And sometimes we have to keep racers from themselves, from spending too much themselves.
You're talking to I'm the video guy, so I don't have that problem. I spend my money on GoPros, but Buju, he races a front wheel drive and all that. And we just talked, was that last week we were talking about the how sometimes drivers are their own worst enemy.
Yes.
Just because want to go faster, want to do faster things, but then the budget sometimes says, well, you really can't do that.
Yeah, and I realize this, it doesn't matter the form of racing around here. I'm no racer, I'll tell you that. Like I raced a go-kart, I flipped it 4 times in 3 years, never got hurt. And I said, you know what? I've used up my luck. Like I'm done. But so now we do other things. And so like HO slot cars, it's little 164 slot cars. We'll spend $200 on that because it'll go fast. I raced an RC car, 10 scale RC car, and I was sitting I vividly remember I was sitting in my basement and I looked up at my RC car and I'm like, I got $1,000 into this RC car and I pay a $50 entry fee. And at the end of the day, if I win, and only if I win, I get a sticker. And I didn't need to have $1,000 in it, but I could.
Right.
I could build a new car. I could buy new motors. I could. And eventually I got sick of buying this stuff and finishing third or fourth to the guys that had more technology and more ability than me, that I just quit. Like, it didn't cost me anything to stop driving to the racetrack. And so we have to have the same mentality, no matter, it can be a 160 or 164th HO slot car. It can be GoPros. It can be whatever it is. At some point you have to have, and it'd be nice in the video world. I own a marketing company, so I'm the same way. I'm like, ooh, this new toy, this new thing.
Right.
I wish we had somebody to be like, no, you don't need that. Like, you haven't used your GoPro 9 that you have there. A GoPro 13 isn't going to make you use it. So as a sanctioning body, we have to be the ones to do that. And that's why we limit the shocks. There's 3 shocks they can run. They have 1 MSD box. They have 1 set of headers they can run, because otherwise they're going to go and try to build a new better mousetrap. And we don't need them building better mousetraps. We just need them coming to the racetrack.
Well, and do you think that's, like, Drew talked about this a few weeks ago with like his compacts and how he's been able to build like a consistent, like, he knows he can go to a track pretty much anywhere in Michigan. He's going to Indiana this year, but Michigan's his primary spot, right? And he knows he can go and he'll get 30 or, for dirt, maybe 25, 30. So do you think by keeping the rules and keeping everything contained and, like you said, mousetrap, right? Like, this is the trap. And this is what you get. Here you go. And do you think that's helped you with your car counts, or do you find people, like we have a track M40 here with Russell's, they kind of do their own thing, and it rubs some people the wrong way because their rules are maybe a little different, where they want their street stocks, kind of how you talked about, like, we want our fans to know what they look like. They want their street stocks to look like street stocks. They want their Crown Vics to look like Crown Vics. They don't want these built things. So do you think that has helped you by keeping that contained? And do you get any pushback, or are most people on board?
Yeah, I think now they're on board. It's that old, like, look at the scoreboard. Again, I can tell you 6 years ago, we averaged 14 trucks. Now we average 25, and we have 60 that are out there. Like, you can not like it, but people are building new trucks and buying them. And the only place the fascinating thing is the only place they can race these trucks is with us. These rules are nowhere else. They can run some like misfits at Madison, like kind of some hybrid, which you saw at Slinger. You can run some kind of some of those hybrid divisions, but the only place they can run is with us. And one thing that Drew does well is that I think we do is people, and I think promoters forget that people have to like you. We don't have to be friends, but they need to like you and respect you. Because if they don't like you and respect you, they're not going to come.
Right.
And so Drew's a grinder. He's all about the relationships. He knows everyone. He knows who's coming. He's active on social. He's active in messaging with his drivers. He's open. The dialogue's open. And that's what I believe as well. My phone, there's a reason I get upset when anybody blasts us on social. It's not that we're perfect. I literally am probably one of the most open people. My phone number's on my Facebook page. My phone number's in the procedure rulebook. Like, you have access to my Snapchat. You have access to my Messenger. You can text me. Like, you can email me. You have so many avenues to come talk to me and tell me what I can do better versus just spewing it online. And I think the Midwest Compacts is very similar to that. Drew is so open about what they're doing that it allows people to know that when they show up to the racetrack, they know who's in charge. And they also know that they're going to show up and probably aren't getting outspent. And with the trucks that was me in the RC car. I knew at the end of the day when I saw people swapping out electronics in between heats, and I'm like, I already have $1,000 into this car. I don't need to go spend $700 more. That I'm like, I'm done. And so if people are showing up to the racetrack and like I'm already spending my max budget and they're spending more than me, this is a no-win situation. And so you got to control the cost. People have to know who they are or who's in charge, and they just need to like you and respect you. And it has to be fun. We're racing for $750 in the truck series. Like we're not even racing for $5,000. Like, nobody's making money on this unless they have a hell of a sponsor that's bankrolling it all. And so they have to like you. And so there's beer in our cooler afterwards. There's music playing. There's lights on the tent. We're one of the last ones at the series trailer is always one of the last ones to load up. And our owner has to leave early, we're going to other trailers. And so that's just the culture that we want to build, is we're there to race, but then we're there to have a good time, because we actually all, for the most part, get along.
Well, and there might be some people listening who are promoters or whatever who might be like, how do we do that? Just because again, it's one of those things that I've seen that sometimes with like the Great Lakes super sprints, where there's not only they like a convoy come down 94, like when they come to Hartford, but you see them hanging out afterwards. And MCR Dwarf Cars is another one that I think of, that you see a lot of them hanging out afterwards, and they seem to generally enjoy being around each other. So and we had someone from the Night of Destruction earlier at New Paris, where it's kind of like kumbaya in the pit area, go smash each other a couple times and come back and, talk about it. And so, that relationship building does go a long ways.
Yeah. And you just have to curb it. Like, don't get me wrong. It's when you come to the trucks, like I believe in dictatorship at the racetrack. It's just how I am. But we'll also be able to drink a beer later afterwards. But at the end of the day, like, there is a hierarchy when we're here.
Yeah.
And what that does, though, is everybody wants to live in a box. They want to know where their lines are, what the boundaries are. That's a societal thing. It's parenting. It's society. Like, this is no new phenomenon. And so you have to have somebody that's in control. They can't be a complete a-hole, don't get me wrong, right? Like, there has to be procedures and rules and stuff like that that go with it. But once you establish that, everything else honestly falls into place. And then if two drivers don't like each other, just curb it, just bring them together. Like, say, hey, we can choose how to race. At the end of the day, and I tell people, at the end of the day, it's not my money. So if they want to go destroy their $50,000 trucks and toys and have 2 weeks of work to put into it, like, that's on them, not on me. I'm still going to sleep okay at night, but I'm here to try to stop this from happening. But it's ultimately their decision. And the more dialogue you have, and the more, you can't have it be like the madhouse. Don't get me wrong. They're doing something right there. They packed 30,000 people into there, however many. That's not what we're about in the Midwest. We're not here to smash them up. There's shows for that, like you mentioned, the Night of Destruction shows. If you want to see that and go do that, go over there. But again, it's really not that hard. And so any promoter that wanted to talk, they could certainly give me a call, chat. But if you know your drivers and you demand their respect, but then you respect them, everything tends to work out.
And again, it comes down to that respect factor, right? Like, at the end of the day, I used to be a full-time teacher, and I would always tell my students, we don't have to send each other Christmas cards, but it's respect, right? Like, you can get mad at the playground and you can have all these things happen, and it's really big fish to fry for you. But at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of this little world, it's not that big of a problem, or it's not that big of a deal. But I don't need you to send each other Christmas cards, but you got to respect at the end of the day, minimal.
Yeah. And that's how our tech staff is too. That's how our tech staff is with the drivers. We'll pull a couple crate engines a year to send them to the dyno. We probably have one of the strictest tech staff, because we need the integrity. Again, another thing is I'm built on integrity. Like, if I have no integrity, it doesn't matter what else I do. And so you can't be wishy-washy. One of the earliest things that somebody told me in this sport is be firm, fair, and consistent. Like, if you're those three, like, if you're wrong, just be wrong the same way every time, or say, hey, I'm going to learn. Right? Yeah. Like, people just want to know where they're at. But then at the same time, the respect goes to the tech staff. And so too often, racers, if you're listening and you're a racer, just remember, there's two people that you don't want to make upset at the racetrack. It's the tech staff and the race director, because they can make your life a living hell at the racetrack. And they're going to win. They're the ones that are in control. And so the tech staff's job is to go find the teams that are pushing the edge. The racers are there to push the boundaries. The tech staff's there to try to catch it. If you both understand that, and when it happens, when you get caught, hold your head up high. Now, the tech staff has to be consistent. So this is where they need to be firm, fair, and consistent. You can't pick and choose what you're going to do, because once you do that, then they do have a reason to gripe. But I tell people, like, listen, if you want to blast on social, you want to blast out to the letter of the law, I can call the rules to the letter of the law. The tech staff, you want to start mouthing off, those cars can go home in boxes. Like, they have a really long list that as soon as you stop talking, they stop asking for things to be done. But that's how it needs to be. And so And if it's not, if the racers are the ones running it, trust me, again, we go to society. If everybody is running and there's no leadership, it's going to collapse.
Yeah. Oh,
so
absolutely.
there has to be that authority throughout everything. And again, but we all still want to, we have all that in place, but then we also want to go drink beer with each other afterwards. So,
yep. So what track, and I know Buju, I certainly jump into Buju if you have questions, but what track on your schedule are you looking forward to? I know you have an event coming up. What is it, May 11th? Or no, May 3rd.
May 3rd. Yeah, coming
that's
up here.
The big one, or it was at
Madison International. Yeah, so that's like the birthplace of the trucks. Again, this is gonna sound so cliche, you know. I'm excited for all of them. I'm close to lacrosse, so again, if you're looking for an event to come to, I could throw a dart at our schedule and come to one of them. They're all big events. And again, that's not hyperbole. Like, it's just go look at the Midwest schedule and you can go, okay, yeah, it's a big show. But Oktoberfest is where I'm from. It's where I grew up. It's 4 days of racing from 5 o'clock till 10:30 at night. And if you have a camper, you're camping until 3:30, 4 a.m. And you're doing it all the next day again for 4 nights. So that's one. I do love Slinger. If you've never been to Slinger, watching it on TV doesn't do it justice. And so I love Slinger. But Madison will always be the birthplace of the trucks. And so we have 2 big events there. There's something cool just about seeing the trucks on a half mile, high banked half mile. That's fun to watch.
Well, I know Slinger. Buju, you've been to Slinger too, right?
I have not. No.
Oh, you've not been? I thought you've been to Slinger. That's just know it's all uphill. Everything is uphill.
Yeah.
And the brief moment you think you're going downhill, you're actually still going uphill. No matter where you walk on that property, it's like everything's uphill. But that's a fun track, and I can only imagine the trucks on that. Just from what I saw, the trucks that were there, I'm like, that was a pretty good race. I enjoyed that one a lot, and but Buju, I know you went to ask something, but that's where I being this close. I mean, where I am, I'm at Lower Michigan, so I'm like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, stuff like that to Slinger. You got to get through Chicago. Once you get through Chicago, you're pretty safe, because then you don't quite go through Milwaukee to get there. But but Buju, I know you're going to ask a question.
Lewis mentioned how televised your schedule is this year. Who, for somebody tuning in for the first time for your series, like I will be, who are some drivers they should watch this year?
Yeah, so when we look at, Brandon Reichenberger is our last two-time champion, super consistent. If we go back, he actually hasn't finished outside the top 10 in a points race. He did it in a non-points race last year, but since 2013. So he's almost pushing 2 years. I think the count's up to like 27 races or 26 races. He hasn't finished outside the top 10. So just a model of consistency. James Swan, the 97, built a new truck this year, 6-time champion. Nick Van's fun to watch. Blake Brown, again, he's he raced at Grundy, jumping back in. He's going to be bad fast this year. If you just go look at our points, Eugene Gregorich, Chester Ace, like when we show up to the racetrack, there are probably 15 drivers that could win. Last year, we kicked off the season. We had 10 different winners in the first 11 races.
Wow.
And so when we talk, like, it's anybody's game based on tire strategy, because the trucks are so similar. It's who nailed it that day, who saved tires. But those are kind of some of those champions. James Swan's also the winningest driver. Broke a 2-year winless streak last year. So he'd gone 2 years without winning. And so to see him, he's one guy that's usually, we call him pit wars here in Wisconsin, which means who's the last to load the truck up. Like, these guys, when I'm saying we're like drinking in the pits, like they haven't even loaded the truck up before 2:30 a.m. And so it's just sitting on jack stand, sitting outside. So he's one though that watch him come to the race. You can either tune in or come to the race and then go down by his trailer and be ready for a long night.
And then for the drivers, what track do you think gives them the most, like, maybe not even technical difficulty, but what track just really seems to challenge your group the most? Like, every time you go there, you're like, hey, you guys had a, I don't want to say vacation, but these last couple races have been pretty easy on you, but we're going into this event and it, right, like NASCAR has Darlington and a few others who are just always like that wrench in the plan. So do you have a track on your schedule that you look forward to because for your guys it's going to be a challenging one for them?
Yeah, so there's really 3, and for 3 different reasons. It's Kaukauna. It's a D-shaped oval. So again, the difference in tracks here in Wisconsin out of the 11 asphalt tracks, I think it's 11 now, are so different. And so it's a D-shaped oval. You haul the mail down the front stretch. You kind of have to stop. That's one that the locals do have an advantage just because they know the lines, they know the bumps. And so we did a video last year that the character of that track it's like a 2-inch patch down the middle. It's a seam. And so like, you're like literally trying to like straddle this seam. Otherwise you're going up and over it. And then when you get down the back stretch, it starts to crown towards the wall. And so if you're not careful, you'll actually get up too high next to the wall and then it'll suck you into the wall. So that's one. And the other one's Slinger. The locals always have an advantage at Slinger just because it's so fast. I think Alan Quick, your Mark Barton said it was like flying fighter jets in a gymnasium, and that's truly what it is. And our trucks are so momentum based, and so you can't lift. So Super Late has power to be able to get up off the corner. These trucks, you get wound up, and so a lot of times you'll see us go to the outside. The other one is, and it's for a completely opposite reason, is Plover. It's Golden Sands. It is a very low grip, and so you're a quarter to half throttle on corner exit. And so that one it's all about, and it's a bowl. You never stop turning. And so I don't know if you guys iRace, I consider it like a linear, that's you're just constantly going in a circle. And that's that way, but you can't, if you slip up and you hit the throttle too hard, you're sideways. It's like a dirt track in a sense. Sometimes they do put track stick, and it's common over here. I don't know if you guys do it a lot in Michigan. We put lane choice down on the outside.
Yep.
And so our trucks, again, being momentum based, being that 602, you'll see them go to the outside a lot because they can actually keep the momentum going. And so at Madison, if you tune in on May 3rd on Track TV, you'll see the preferred line actually move up, which then, again, if you're an iRacer, you start talking, like a new Smyrna turn 1, that the bottom's open if you can get it to stick. But oftentimes you can't, without moving them. And so those are the three tracks. That's like for 3 completely different reasons that they're challenged and tested.
But then for fans, that means it's not the same movie every time you go out, right? Like that they're going to see those different kind of things. And that's something that a few weeks ago, Chris and Tracy from New Pairs kind of talked about. People don't want to see the same movie all the time, right? And so on a schedule like that, you already know, like, hey, we're going to have some challenging tracks in here that our drivers are really, it may look a little different for them, but then even you saying like the locals have that advantage. It's like, then, that crowd, right? You get that crowd energy behind them too, because it's like the locals are hanging, with the big dogs. And so, so that adds some excitement to probably the racing too, for fans to go, they have someone not only to cheer for, but then they maybe know these big names who they know are going to struggle a little bit, or maybe have to think a little bit more than the locals. So that's cool to see.
Yeah, and when you look at our schedule last year, like I said, 10 winners in the first 11 races, and it's really anybody's race. And to add to that, then we have 2 back-to-back slingers, which kind of turns us into almost a weekly series. So when I say like this schedule is like a perfect schedule for me, because we go to one of the toughest tracks, and these teams don't have to switch a whole lot over. They get to turn around and go right back to that track 3 weeks later. And so even from the fan standpoint, it's like, oh, we just saw him 3 weeks ago. Now we get to see him again. And it's right in the middle of our season. It's race 5 and 6 of our season. And so, it'll be fun for them too, to have like almost this weekly feel instead of needing to travel someplace new or reset up the truck. And so we kind of take the opposite of that and give a little sprinkle of it into the middle of the schedule.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I know we're running on time here. So really quick, where can people follow the Midwest Truck Series? I know Facebook is obviously a big one, but, websites, anywhere else. Obviously, they're the schedule for streaming. Like, where can you even find all of that information? So where can people go to follow you guys?
Yeah, so Facebook page is our best. It's where we're most active. We're starting to build out the Instagram a little bit, but we just have more engagement on Facebook. So we do a lot more there. MidwestTruckSeries.com. And it actually gives me a good reminder. I need to go put the streaming on there. I have a love-hate relationship with streaming. Our goal is to get people into the stands, but guys like you, I'll gladly give all the streamings to, because you're not coming to all of our races. And so as a series, we play around with that a little bit. But if you follow our socials, we'll tell you where our stream is. The next one, May 3rd, is on Track TV, where you can see the ASA Stars, ASA Midwest Tour, which they both have a race this weekend. And so if you bought today, you can, for $30 a month, and this is not even an ad for me, but we're trying to push subscriptions.
Yep, right.
You get Midwest Tour, you get the ASA Stars, and you get us the next weekend as well with the Midwest Tour. If you use code MWTS, Midwest Truck Series MWTS, you actually get 50% off an annual subscription. So it takes that $300 subscription, drops it down to like $160 for you. So something that if you want to do that, gets us some credit. We don't get any money for it, but I like seeing I like to win. Who had the most promo codes used. So.
Yep, I was going to ask because that's where I tell people I'm not pro streaming or anti streaming. I know I physically cannot sit and watch racing on TV. It's just I have to be at the track. That's my thing. But then I also look at my metrics. I'm a big metrics guy, so I appreciate a data person too. And like we started the show, like I think it was out of the 68 different states, provinces, and commonwealths and everything I can count. 60% of them, somebody was in the top 10 on metrics at least once on Facebook. And it's like, and that's a little guy who I'm the videographer. I'm the audio guy now. I post the clips. I edit right on the spot at the racetrack to post updates. Like I have one person helping with onboards in the middle because I can't be in both places at one time. But other than that, all the editing, graphics, all that's me. I don't have a production team to do that. I'm even here managing the stream. I don't have a production. So it's one of those that I'm like, streaming, I don't know. You can't just say streaming can only do it because there's people like me all around the nation who can bring that exposure too.
Yeah, I have a love-hate with it. I think it's forced promoters to make sure their at-track experience is better. If you're just showing up in racing weekly, I think streaming is hurting. If you have a big event, case in point, Snowball Derby really started to grow once they started to stream. However, it's turned into an event. And so not only are there streaming subscriptions up, and they have to be because Flow's bought the rights for it, so they wouldn't do it if there weren't streamers.
Right.
But it's also helped the at-track. Now, the opposite to that is your weekly show, your car counts aren't great. It's not a great atmosphere. It's just a old school 1990s race. I don't think you need to be streaming those races because I think people are going to choose to stay at home. And I know some are spending, charging $30 a month for that. But I think people are just choosing, they can open this thing up and have endless YouTube shorts and endless entertainment for 2 hours or 3 hours. Now, that being said, big events, Midwest Tour show, things like that we're trying to pull in a national audience, absolutely can be streamed. I struggle when weekly shows, unless you're going to do something different. You're going to start jumping cars and burning stuff up, and you're going to make it a show, an event that you don't get to see and feel and smell that. It's just forcing promoters to change their at-track business model a little bit more.
Yeah. And so one more before we let you go. I know you were talking about the streaming, you're talking about the website, you're talking about that kind of deal. Now for the Midwest Truck Series, do you have like series sponsors who help kind of bring this all together and help you do what you need to do?
Yeah, we're bootstrapped. We do this. I'm very similar. I am the guy for the Midwest Truck Series. If there's something posted online, it's me, graphics, all of that. And so we're fortunate to have so many different sponsors. I'm not going to read them all. Go check our website out. Support those that support racing. Some of the big ones are 5-Star Gandrude, Left Hander Performance, Pit Crew Barbecue. If you need some barbecue sauce, check out Pit Crew Barbecue.
Okay.
Sauce. Or we try to post about them on our social channels, just because it's something that's what allows us to do what we do. We're self-funded. Yes, the promoters help cover the purse. Everything else that we do, though, is luckily I own a marketing and media company to be able to offset some of it. But we're always looking for sponsors. We're always looking for the help. It's anywhere from $500 up to $2,500. We're not talking $10,000 here. And so we in the last 28 days, we had over 700,000 views on our content for our little support series.
Yeah.
And so we're doing the right things. And so we're going to keep doing what we do and keep putting on a good show. And hopefully I appreciate so much you guys just reaching out and giving us some exposure over to Michigan. I can tell you our series will never come over there. However, tune in online, tune in and watch, come over come over to Madison, come over this way, make a road trip out of it. And who knows, maybe our guys will come watch a big show over at Berlin or Kalamazoo or something like that as well in the future.
Yeah, not to look like a Michigander here for a moment, but like, I'm like down this way. So for me to go to Wisconsin, my brother lived up that way in Green Bay for a little bit. He introduced me to it's not Sheboygan County Fairgrounds, but it's Plymouth Dirt Track Racing there. I love that track. That's one of my favorites. Obviously went to Slinger, and at PRI, I met quite a few of those promoters over there and got a chance to talk with them and learn about what they do. So there's in my area, there's a lot of like Green Bay Packer fans. So it's not just
because you're in Lions country. They've been good.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the
years.
other side of the state. I mean, we get a lot of them, but we're in that weird spot where I can see Chicago from my shoreline. So it's one of those that we're more down this way. We got that mix, and
we do have a guy from Michigan that races with us. He's from the UP, so I don't know your relationship.
Oh, probably comes down that way.
They're more Wisconsin than they are Michigan.
Yeah, they are.
They drive like 9 hours to come race with us. So.
Yeah,
they're up in Big Bay. I think they're in Canada. Last week at the race, they told us they still have 3 feet of snow.
Yeah, no, up there they had a ridiculous amount. That's why it was all that flooding too. But yeah, I'll just take the big puddles that we have in the farm.
Yeah.
But other than that, Drew, that's where I definitely appreciate you taking time out of your Monday night to come on. And that's where I reached out. And if you said, no, that's okay, we have something else planned, I would have been like, hey, okay, that's cool. But when I saw that post, it just made me think like, what can I do? Because I do have again, not a large when you compare me to others, but for my size and being basically one person managing a lot of that's quite the following in a short amount of time. So it's like, how can I help? Because you just never know who might see this and go, I'm going to make a trip, or already planning a trip because of camping and, going over to even Great America and Grunt or in Gurney. We'll go a few more miles and you're already in Wisconsin, and now you can hit up some tracks. So you just never know when people travel where they're going. So it's like, you're not that far away. Even though you're far away, you're not that far away.
Well, absolutely. So if you come out to a racetrack, hit me up. Otherwise, hit me up when you're at PRI. We go every year. So.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. And I learned last year I went to the top floor in the tops area for the first time.
Oh, absolutely. We would probably saw each other in the BS and brews and all that. So.
Oh yeah, probably. So, and it's just you never connect the dots. But but again, Drew, I definitely appreciate you coming on tonight. So with that said, guys who've been watching, make sure to go follow them and give them support one way or another. If you can't go to the track in person, as Drew said, that they're on track TV, they're on pit road TV, depending on the track. I think a couple of those are partner media partners for like pit road TV and all that. Flow Racing when you're at Slinger. So there's lots of ways to watch what you guys are doing.
Absolutely, I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you so much.
Well, again,
thank you, man.
And so let's do one more shout out because we're almost here at the top of the hour again. And Buju, that was another incredible episode, having everybody talking from Aaron Hapner to DJ. I'm definitely going to be messaging DJ to get him back on. We might just let him take over the show. He can be like the guest host and we'll just sit in the background. But the Thursday Night Throttle again is live this Thursday at 7 p.m. It'll be a very, very similar format to last week, where we're not doing a schedule per track. It'll be, here's what's running Friday, here's what's running Saturday. Just to be mindful to watch social media. I'm making the graphics on Wednesday night, so some tracks may cancel by the time we get on, and I may not have a chance to change it. So we're going to have a little asterisk at the bottom of each graphic that says, please check social media at track of your choice to make sure that they're still running or not, because I know there's supposed to be rain on Friday, and I didn't look at Saturday. I just heard rain Friday, and I went like Archie Bunker. One more reminder for next week, Ron Vresh takes over at 7:05, and he has the whole episode to himself again, so you never know what stories he'll tell. I do know some of the stories he will tell, though. He was giving me a preview. I promise you'll want to come there and listen to his stories, because there's some incredible ones that he has lined up for us. And then on May 4th, once again, we have Tim Dibble. Tim also will have the whole thing to himself, because not only will we be talking Hartford things, but we'll also be talking just Tim things. And Timmy might make an appearance. I was joking with Leah that, he might be on there a little bit. So again, with the Monday Night Rewind, I will download this afterwards, after we're done, and you'll be able to watch it on YouTube where it is right now. I'm trying to be mindful because I'm loading a lot of stuff from the Intimidator. I have all the onboards. A couple of them are just sitting there right now, not published. They're already there, but they're not published. I apologize to everyone this morning. The Intimidator was supposed to publish at 8 a.m. Somehow it was 8 a.m. tomorrow. And so I had to change that when I saw some comments. It's not there. What do you mean it's not there? So I do apologize for that, but it was published a few hours later. It's just when you get on YouTube, it defaults to the next day. I don't know why, but I have to change it. And I just, at 6 a.m., I didn't catch it. But again, this will also be on Spotify, where we actually have quite a few people who tune in. And then Apple Podcast seems to be our other big one. But it's also on Amazon Music, and it'll be on iHeartRadio. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we're not Aaron Hapner. Click the wrong one. Anything else good for the group?
I thought the Midwest Super Truck interview was super interesting. We didn't know a lot about the series. We weren't sure how the interview was going to go going in, not knowing a lot about it, not being in our area. And I'm pretty interested now. 15 cars within a tenth and a half of each other is a good sell.
Yep. Real quick before we go, though, I want to show this. I got to put it on here because I know how much you love racing, and I'm going to do the audio for this just so we get what it was like. Let's see what people thought of this finish.
Yes.
We sort this out real fast. Green flag drops. We are racing one more time. Lead change. Bad restart there. Brock Gannis finds himself behind Jeffrey Town. Jeffrey Town up to the front spot. That number 2 car sees the white flag. Just one more lap to hold him off. This would be a huge upset. Down the backstretch, Jeffrey Town has Gannis cleared as they enter turn number 3. Roll into turn number 4. It's going to be a photo finish. No vote, Jeffrey Town. Jeffrey Town comes home with your Tech Work Trailer Sales Street Stock Waste.
So see, we had about 15 of us in our group or so, and we were all putting bets down. And there was a group of about 6. I think we had $5 each. I had Brock in the street stock race. Yeah. What a heartbreaking loss.
Well, and he took the white flag.
Yeah.
He took the white flag before I think it was an incident there was 2, I think. Wasn't there the first?
I believe so, yeah.
And then exit, again. And so that race, I'm just sitting up at the top, and I'm going, wow, this is going to go green, white, checkered. I was really, but it also, again, we have such an incredible street stock talent group.
Yeah.
But, and look at how many champions were in that one. Brock, former champion. Cody Lawler, former champion.
Logan.
Mayer, 2-time champion.
Yeah. Brock and Jeff, whole field.
You just start going through all those names and just champion, right? And so, and you have front runners. Alex Sexton was right up there. So watching him do his again, that's where I felt for Brock, right? Because it's one of those that, man, like you took the white flag and just how quickly things change. And I've watched that restart so many times where I'm not a racer. I shouldn't have never been in a race car. Thanks to Drew Ritter, I have been in a race car, but I've not been the one steering it or anything. And I'm just thinking like, man, what would go through your head in that, where you literally saw the white flag and within a few minutes, all of a sudden, like everything changed. And Jeff Town, he's a damn good racer.
Oh yeah. Hats off to Jeff Town for racing to the end and capitalizing there.
Him and Alex had that close finish, the closest finish in Kalamazoo history. But again, and I'll show it one more time because, I want you to be the racer. Obviously you're not in the boat in this case, but
yeah.
So when we're coming to this, right? So,
outstanding.
So when we're coming to this, right, what do you see as a racer?
The only thing, all Brock is thinking here,
real fast.
Go ahead.
All Brock is thinking here is, I don't want to see a nose, and then he sees one right here. I mean, I don't want to speak for Brock, obviously, but your driving changes once you know that you're not just playing defense with the car behind you anymore. You're racing the guy next to you, and now he's also worrying about his dad behind him now. So yeah, I mean, a heartbreaking loss. You lead the whole thing. Like you said, take the white flag, and then slips away in that way. Hats off to Jeff Town for winning it, but it's always going to be I think that's going to be one Brock will always think about.
Yeah, and that's where I just wondered as a racer, right? I like I said, I don't race. I get to video it, and I just I go through all the emotions on top of the roof because again, I'm internally, I want everyone to have a great night at the race. I want them to succeed. I want it to be a good race. I don't want shenanigans to be a reason somebody wins. I want go out there, put it all in line, do your thing as a driver, put on the show, leave it all on the track, just and be safe, right? Like go do all those things. But then when you just go through those emotions, like that race was pretty exciting, to watch happening. Brock was in a whole different zip code there for a while. There's a lot of battling going on behind him. And I just thought, I was thinking, if there's a caution at some point, and when that white flag came out, I didn't even see the spin over in turn 4. But when that white flag came out, it's like, wow, I was in like 35 laps of street stock racing, all green, like sign me up. But just the number of battles that are going, I kept thinking to myself, if there's a caution at some point, this is going to get interesting. And, and that's kind of.
And as I said, Brock's cruising that whole time, and all he has on his mind is as long as nothing crazy happens in front of me, and as long as the yellow doesn't come out, I'm okay. And
well, and I felt that way, watching Phil out front, Phil Bozell and then Tim Rear out for so long, and then they ended up having, different issues. I don't know all what happened, but with all the issues, and then I really thought Mark shook. I thought Mark was going to get to catch up to Tyler. Just watching it, again, and I have a chance because I edit it, that I get to watch it back before it gets published again. And so, I just kept, even in watching it back and editing, I would wind it back and go, like there's a moment, like you just think like, man, if it something happened differently here. And so, so again, Donald, no, we're just doing a wrap up because I really wanted to show, we were going to save it for Thursday, but I thought, well, it's Monday and we've already committed this long, but, that's where just watching even that outlaw race, it's like, there's a lot of exciting moments.
And there was a restart early on where Tyler and Phil Bozell were starting side by side. You're kind of already thinking, well, Tyler's about to jump out ahead and it's over, but he didn't. And Phil got that jump on that restart. And I'm talking trash to my nephew because I'm rooting for Phil. Yeah, it was a good time at Kalamazoo on Friday.
Well, and Phil had an onboard camera, so you'll be able to see from his perspective. And then Matt Frazier, who was also up front there for a bit, had an onboard camera. Bryce Bozell did well. He hung up with lot for a while.
It was very cool watching, because I grew up watching Andy and then Phil, obviously. And then Scott Hance is one of my all-time favorites. I have a picture in here somewhere. But watching Bryce battle Scott Hance for quite a handful of laps was cool to watch.
Well, and that's where sometimes it's tough as the videographer, because I'm a one-camera crew, right? I don't have a second person who can, where like I've talked with Cody Geyer about this because he does Great Lakes Super Sprints, right? And so sometimes they have one camera, sometimes they have two. And I've asked him, I said, so when you do things for Racing America, how far back do you go? And he said 7th place is the furthest he'll ever go back. Anything after 7th, they don't go back. And it's like, okay, but if the leader's like way out there, I want to jump around and try to at least get everybody. And so it's, everyone has a different philosophy in what they do and how they shoot, right? But it's one of those that I try to get everybody, but when there's battles up front, that's where it's harder. Because it's like, well, I'm not leaving the battle up front. And so sometimes I feel bad that people don't get as much time. But if you go back, you can see some of it in the shadows, I call it, where there's a lot of good battles. And I do try to jump through once Tyler had it for a little bit. You kind of judge the timing on the laps. As a video guy, you kind of judge, oh, okay, I can pan off of this for a little bit because this is going to be at least 4 or 5 laps before it gets exciting again. So that's 4 or 5 other laps. I can try to get other people some time. But that street stock race, that was one. And then just, when Phil had to pull off after being out front, it's like, man, that you just feel for those, right? You feel for those moments. And then, I thought it was for a packed crowd. The drivers did their job on Friday. They left it out there. The front wheel drive A feature was a little exciting.
It was. It was.
And I had the turn 3 camera, which if you haven't seen the full program, there is a view from turn 3 of, what happened in the race for people who want to go back and watch it. It's in the full program just to see how it all kind of shook down. because I missed it. So that's where I'm lucky that I have other cameras around the track where I can generally find something that happened somewhere. I don't have everything covered. There's like 2 blind spots that I just don't. A camera there just doesn't get what I need. But yeah, that one, but again, LC Junior and a front wheel drive. That's I was impressed with Scott. He had a lot go on with Scott Gates in the 46, and that he kept going and everything. So, other than that, we can talk more about it on Thursday. I don't want to keep people longer since it's already 9:10, but it's like, I spent time loading some of those clips earlier. So I'm like, I wanted to get to those clips really quick because I wanted to see your perspective as a driver. Oh, Tina, I did not post it. It won't be posted on Facebook if people want to watch it and take the time. Yeah, they can go to YouTube and see it, but I'm not posting it on Facebook. But so it's a cheap pop for YouTube. But other than that, we're back on Thursday, so I have editing to do. So I'm going to go do that. And my favorite thing is to turn left and go fast because
see you at the races.
We'll see everybody at the races.